Imagine you are a Roman senator in the year 37 AD. Your name is Marcus Junius Silanus. You are not just any senator. You are one of the most respected men in Rome, a former consul, known for your wisdom and your unwavering loyalty. The new, young emperor, Caligula, even calls you father. One evening, you receive an invitation. A private dinner at the imperial palace. This is not unusual. You are his father-in-law. Your own daughter, Junia Claudia, is the Empress of Rome, Caligula's first wife. You arrive at the palace, proud, respected, the patriarch of a family at the very heart of power. The dinner is lavish. The wine flows. The emperor is charming. And then, in the middle of the feast, he dismisses everyone except you. The two of you are alone. He looks at you, his eyes holding a strange, unreadable glint. And he tells you that your daughter, his wife, the Empress of Rome, is dead. He doesn't say how. He doesn't say why. He just looks at you, waiting for your reaction. You are a father who has just learned of his daughter's death. But you are also a subject, sitting before a man who holds the power of life and death over your entire family. You cannot weep. You cannot show anger. You cannot even ask why. But what he does next is not the unspeakable thing. It is merely the beginning. This is the story you don't know about Caligula. We've all heard the stories of madness, the horse he wanted to make a consul, the sexual depravity. But those stories are a lie. Not because they aren't true, but because they hide a far more terrifying reality. This wasn't madness. This was a machine. A system of psychological warfare designed with surgical precision to dismantle the human soul. And the story of your daughter, Junia, is the first documented case study of how this machine worked. The official story of Junia's death, recorded by historians like Cassius Dio, is that she died during childbirth. A tragic but common fate for women in the ancient world. It's a neat, clean explanation that closes the book. But there is another story. A darker story, pieced together from fragments and whispers in the historical record. After telling you of your daughter's death, Caligula gives you a gift. He sends a servant who presents you with a small, ornate box. Inside is a single, perfectly sharpened razor. There is no note. No command. But the message is absolutely clear. He is not ordering your death. He is giving you the option to end your own life. He is testing you. He wants to see if your grief for your daughter is stronger than your fear of him. He is making you choose between a father's love and a subject's terror. You spend the night staring at that razor, trapped in an impossible choice. This is the first act of his machine, the weaponization of grief. To understand why a man would do this, you have to understand how he was made. Caligula was not born a monster. He was manufactured. And the factory was the court of the previous emperor, Tiberius. Imagine being a teenager, the last surviving son of a family that has been systematically exterminated by the reigning emperor. Your mother exiled and starved. Your brothers tortured to death. And then, the man who ordered it all summons you to live with him on his island fortress of Capri. For 6 years, Caligula lived in a house of horrors. He knew Tiberius had murdered his family. He knew that one wrong word, one flicker of sadness in his eyes, would mean his own death. So he didn't just survive. He became a master of masks. The historian Suetonius wrote something chilling: there never was a better servant, or a worse master. He studied Tiberius. He learned how to break people psychologically. He watched as Tiberius forced senators to watch their own children's executions. He learned that true power wasn't killing a man, it was destroying everything that made him human, while keeping him alive. When Tiberius died and Caligula became emperor, Rome celebrated. They thought they were getting the beloved son of the great general Germanicus. They had no idea they had just crowned a man who had earned a PhD in cruelty from the greatest monster in Roman history. And your daughter, Junia, was his first experiment. You do not use the razor. You choose survival. You bury your grief so deep it becomes a part of your bones. You attend the Senate. You smile at the emperor. You play your part. You think you have passed the test. Then, a few months later, Caligula does something that sends a cold shockwave through the Roman aristocracy. He remarries. But he doesn't just marry another noblewoman. He attends the wedding of one of his most loyal supporters, a man named Gaius Piso. He watches the ceremony. And during the wedding feast, he has the bride, a woman named Livia Orestilla, brought to his table. In front of her new husband, her family, and hundreds of guests, he announces that he has decided to take her as his own wife. He doesn't ask. He informs. He has her escorted from her own wedding feast to the imperial palace. The next day, he divorces her and exiles her, having made his point. This is the second act of the machine, the destruction of public honor. He isn't just taking a woman. He is demonstrating that the most sacred bonds of Roman society, marriage, loyalty, public vows, are meaningless before his will. For you, the message is even more personal. He has shown you how replaceable your daughter was. You continue to endure. You are the rock of the Senate, the symbol of old Roman dignity. Caligula seems to respect this. He treats you with courtesy in public. One afternoon, he invites you to a private game. Just the two of you, playing a game of dice in his villa. For a moment, it feels normal. Like a son-in-law spending time with his wife's father. You play for hours. The stakes are small. The conversation is light. Then, Caligula makes a final wager. He pushes his entire pile of gold coins to the center of the table. And against it, he wagers something of yours. He says, all this, against your other daughter. You freeze. Your youngest daughter. Still a child. Still living in your house. He is not shouting. He is not angry. He says it with a calm, curious smile. As if he is genuinely interested in the outcome of the game. He has turned your family, your bloodline, into a gambling chip. This is the third act of the machine, the trivialization of human life. He is showing you that to him, a human being, a senator's daughter, your child, has the same value as a pile of gold coins. Her entire future is now dependent on the roll of a dice. You refuse the wager. You cannot. You stand up, your hands trembling, and you make an excuse to leave. You have to get away. But you have failed the test. The next day, Caligula summons your youngest daughter to the palace. He does not summon you. He does not summon her mother. He summons her alone. The ancient sources are fragmented here. They speak in whispers. They use euphemisms. The historian Cassius Dio simply says that Caligula ruined her. Suetonius is more explicit, but his work was considered so scandalous it was suppressed for centuries. What we can piece together is this. What happened to her in the palace was not a simple act of assault. Caligula did not just take her. He married her, in a grotesque mockery of a ceremony, to one of his horses. Let that sink in. He did not just violate her body. He performed a public, ritualistic act designed to annihilate her very humanity. To be taken by a man, even an emperor, was a horror. To be symbolically fused with an animal was something else entirely. It was an act of soul murder. He was stripping her of her status as a human being. And by doing so, he was telling you, her father, that your bloodline was not just worthless, it was subhuman. She is sent back to your house that evening. Broken. Silent. A ghost in the shape of your daughter. But the machine is not finished. The torture is not over. The next morning, an imperial decree is delivered to every senator in Rome. It is an announcement of a new law. A law that makes it a capital crime, punishable by execution, to show sympathy for the families of those who have displeased the emperor. You look at your daughter. You look at your wife. You look at your other children. And you understand the diabolical genius of this final act. You cannot comfort her. If you show her tenderness, if you weep with her, if your wife holds her, a servant might see. A neighbor might hear. And your entire family will be put to death. He has not just destroyed your daughter, he has turned you, her own father, into her jailer. He has made love itself a capital crime. Your home, once a sanctuary, is now a prison. Every expression of compassion, every tear, every gentle word is a potential death sentence. You have to pretend it didn't happen. You have to go about your day, attend the Senate, smile and nod, while your child's soul dies in the room next to yours. What Caligula did to you was not random cruelty. It was a step-by-step process. A science. Step 1, isolate. Announce the death of the first daughter, forcing you to grieve alone. Step 2, test. Offer the razor, a test of your will to live versus your love for your child. Step 3, devalue. Publicly demonstrate the replaceability of your bloodline by marrying and discarding another man's wife. Step 4, trivialize. Turn your second daughter into a gambling chip, reducing her life to a game of chance. Step 5, annihilate. Commit the unspeakable act, destroying not just her body, but her humanity. Step 6, criminalize compassion. Enact the law that makes your grief a crime, turning your love into a weapon against your own family. This is the machine. It is a system designed to leave a man with nothing. Not even the dignity of his own sorrow. You are alive. You are breathing. But your soul has been systematically dismantled, piece by horrifying piece. And the man who did it still calls you father. Weeks pass. Maybe months. You are a walking ghost. You do your duty. You are the perfect, loyal senator. Then comes the final invitation. Another private dinner. Just you and Caligula. You sit across from him. He pours you wine. He asks about your health. He talks about politics, about the grain shipments from Egypt. The conversation is utterly normal. And that normality is the most insane thing of all. Finally, he looks at you. And he asks a simple question. Why is it, Father, he says, that you have not once asked me what happened to your daughters? You look into the eyes of the man who did this. You see nothing there. No remorse. No anger. Just a cold, empty, clinical curiosity. He is conducting his final experiment. He has pushed you to the absolute limit of human endurance. And now he wants to dissect your reaction. He wants to see what is left of you. He wants you to break. He wants you to scream, to cry, to lunge at him. He wants to see the last flicker of the human spirit so he can extinguish it himself. What do you do? What can you do? Your entire family's survival depends on your next words. According to the fragments left to us by the historian Philo of Alexandria, who knew your family personally, you looked back at the emperor. And with a calm that defied comprehension, you said, Caesar, the gods have blessed me with other children. The gods have blessed Rome with you. My personal sorrows are insignificant compared to the health of the empire. You did not break. You did not give him the satisfaction. You swallowed the universe of your pain and replied with perfect, loyal submission. In that moment, you defeated him. You proved that there was a part of you, your dignity, your control, that his machine could not touch. Caligula, for the first time, had no response. The experiment was over. He had found the limit. He dismissed you. You walked out of the palace, back to your home, a man who had survived hell. 2 days later, you were dead. The official story was that you took your own life, finally succumbing to your grief. But no one believed it. You had already proven you were past that. The truth is, you had won the game. And the emperor could not allow a winner to live. What Caligula did to your family was the perfection of his system. But in perfecting it, he revealed its fatal flaw. His machine of terror was aimed at the Roman elite. At senators like you, men who had too much to lose: wealth, status, family legacies. These men could be broken, because they were invested in survival. But Caligula, in his supreme arrogance, started to aim his casual, everyday cruelty at a different class of person. Not senators, but soldiers. The men who guarded him every day. His name was Cassius Chaerea, a senior officer in the Praetorian Guard. Chaerea had a high-pitched voice, which Caligula found endlessly amusing. Every day, Caligula would mock him, assigning him humiliating passwords like Venus or Priapus in front of the other guards. For Caligula, it was a meaningless joke. For Chaerea, a hardened soldier, it was a daily erosion of his honor. Caligula had made a calculation error. He forgot that while senators are trained to endure humiliation, soldiers are trained to eliminate threats. He forgot the most basic rule of predators: never corner something that can kill you. On January 24, 41 AD, in a narrow, underground corridor of the palace, Chaerea and other conspirators cornered the emperor. They did not just kill him. They unleashed 4 years of accumulated rage, humiliation, and terror upon him. The sources say he was stabbed over 30 times. But the conspirators didn't stop with Caligula. They knew the machine had to be completely dismantled. They found his wife, Caesonia, and stabbed her to death. Then they found the nursery. Caligula's daughter, Julia Drusilla, was 2 years old. A soldier picked up the toddler, and while she was crying for her mother, he swung her head first into a marble wall. They had to make sure there was no heir. No one who could grow up and seek vengeance. They used Caligula's own ruthless logic against his own blood. The machine had turned on its creator. For a few brief hours, it seemed like Rome might be free. The Senate gathered, debating the restoration of the Republic. For the first time in generations, there was hope. And then, the Praetorian Guard made a decision. While looting the palace, a soldier found a man hiding behind a curtain, trembling with fear. It was Claudius, Caligula's uncle. The family embarrassment: a man with a stutter and a limp, long considered harmless. The guard did not see a fool. He saw an opportunity. He saw a new emperor. The soldiers carried Claudius on their shoulders to their camp and proclaimed him emperor. While the Senate was still talking about freedom, the army had already rebooted the machine. The system had survived. The story of Caligula haunts us not because he was a monster. It haunts us because he was a teacher. He ruled for less than 4 years. A historical footnote. And yet, he created a blueprint for psychological tyranny that would be copied by emperors for centuries. Nero, playing his lyre while Rome burned. Domitian, executing men for looking at him wrong. Commodus, forcing senators to watch him play gladiator. Every single one was a student of Caligula's school. He proved that the entire machinery of a state, its laws, its military, its bureaucracy, could be twisted into an instrument of personal, psychological warfare. He didn't work outside the system. He was the system. And when he died, the system didn't die with him. It just waited for a new operator. After Claudius became emperor, he ordered most of Caligula's records to be destroyed. The documents, the decrees, the evidence. Burned. What we know is just what survived the purge. The stories told by men writing decades later, working from memories, rumors, and surviving fragments. Which leads to the most terrifying thought of all. The story I just told you, the story of your family, the story of a man being systematically broken. That is the version that was considered tame enough to survive. Imagine what was so disturbing, so unspeakable, that even the Romans decided it needed to be erased from history forever. The story of Marcus Junius Silanus is not just a tragedy. It is a warning. It shows that the worst horrors are not committed by monsters who break the rules. They are committed by men who rewrite the rules, who turn the law into a weapon, and who turn the state into a machine for destroying souls. And that is a machine that never truly goes away.